Hello class. In this video we begin our discussion of section 6.7 on consumer and producer surplus. That's a topic in microeconomics for you business majors. So this is page 96 of your note packet. And consumer and producer surplus is an application of the area between two curves, which we talked about in section 6.6. So this semester we have been working with demand and supply equations, and so I borrowed the demand equation and supply equation from the first example on page 97 of your note packet. And so just to review, okay, demand equation relates the price that a company can charge its customers. Okay, it gives a relationship between the price charged and the quantity demanded by its customers for a product. And so X is usually in thousands. And so to determine what the price a company can charge to sell exactly 5,000 units, right, we put in 5 for X, and when we do the arithmetic, we get the price that the company can charge, okay? Charges customers. Well, P is a function of X, right? Meets the definition of a function. So we can replace P with function notation. And so now we have a demand function, D of X is equal to what's on the right-hand side of the equation. The supply equation for a company, okay? That's what it is willing to supply to the marketplace for a given price, right? Gives the relationship between price that it receives for its good and how much it's willing to supply to the marketplace. P is a function of X, right? Meets the definition of a function of X. So we can replace P with function notation, and so replace P with S of X, and we now have a supply function. So here is a graph of the demand function and the supply function for this example. The graph of the demand function is in red. The graph of the supply function is in blue, right? And as we've noted throughout the semester, right, demand functions are downward sloping, supply functions are upward sloping, okay? If the more you want to sell, right, the more you have to lower your price. And to induce suppliers to supply more to the marketplace, you have to offer them a higher price for their good. So both these make sense, right? The supply function being upward sloping, demand function being downward sloping. All right, where the supply function and the demand function intersect is called the equilibrium point. In microeconomics, and that's where the quantity supplied by the company equals the quantity demanded for its good. Okay. And so in this case, right, P bar is the equilibrium price, and X bar is the equilibrium quantity. At a price of P bar, quantity demanded exactly equals quantity supplied. And so this equilibrium point has coordinates X bar, P bar. This is actually the first quadrant of the coordinate plane, right? X bar is the horizontal coordinate, P bar is the vertical coordinate. This area below the demand curve and above this horizontal line segment to the right of P bar, that has a name in microeconomics. That's called consumer surplus. And we can calculate, right, that consumer surplus, right, is the area shaded in black above the horizontal line segment to the right of P bar and below the demand curve, D of X. And we can calculate the size of that area using what we learned from section 6.6, the area between two curves. So that's half of what this section's about, calculating consumer surplus given a demand curve and a supply curve for a good. Now the area above the supply curve and below the horizontal line segment to the right of P bar, that has a name too. That's called producer surplus. And we can calculate the size of that area as well using what we learned from section 6.6, the area between two curves. And so that's the second half of this, the material in this section is given a supply curve and a demand curve, right? And the equilibrium point where they intersect, right? We can calculate the producer surplus for that situation, okay? And that's what we'll be doing with examples 1, 2, and 3 on the next 3 pages.